Okay, gang, we're here to talk about today is why you should not buy land and build a custom home. Been there, done that. Until you watch this video, of course.
Yeah, so be sure to stick around because we don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you don't know.
And we don't even know what we don't know, but we're gonna do our best here.
Yeah, we're going to be covering a whole bunch of topics about utilities, land prices, construction prices. So let's check it out right now.
So let's jump into this. Let's talk first about why you might want to go ahead and do your custom build on a piece of property. One of the big reasons is done right, you can walk in with some equity. That's why I have done it, and I've flipped a lot of houses over the years, and I've built some houses from the ground up. And you have the ability to, when you do that, you're stepping into a role where that you can control pricing, you can check to see that everything's being done in a timely manner. I handle paying all the subcontractors and that sort myself. I source the subcontractors even though I'm not a builder and I don't have a contractor's license. In a lot of areas here, especially out in the county, you can oversee your own projects and that sort, and it just makes for a much better experience. Now, if you're not the builder type, if you're not the hands-on, want to get things done, want to oversee the process, maybe be a micromanager a little bit, then by all means, this may not be the method for you to accomplish this. You may just want to go ahead and hire a contractor and pay retail and get built on the property that you want to build on. I'm the guy that wants to create that equity, and when we built this place, we finished up in September 22, and when we built this place, we walked in with about almost 300K in equity on this place, so it was definitely a good move for us. Like I say, I'm not a builder, I'm not a contractor, but by all means, we're here to help those that are interested in moving to Northwest Arkansas, that are interested in building in the area, Northwest Arkansas, Southern Missouri, and you can give us a call. We're happy to help out in any way we can, give you any input. We're gonna tell you some of the stumbling blocks today as well. So go ahead and watch this whole video and see where we have earned some equity and where we've learned some expensive lessons as well. So let's talk about land prices specifically, and here we are in Northwest Arkansas. We're actually between Springdale and Tawnytown. Land prices in Northwest Arkansas vary greatly. I mean, you can be as low as $5,000 an acre, let's say, on some lots, and then others that might be $100,000 an acre. Some of the big things that play into what's going on there is that terrain makes a big difference. So if, let's say, you're out in the woods, not flat level land, you're in the woods, so you've got to put in infrastructure, you've got a long distance. So here at our place, it's 550 feet from the road to the front of the house. And you can kind of see there's also a parking pad area in the back of our place here by the shop. But whenever you start dragging utilities a long way, you've got additional cost. Whenever you've got steeper terrain, you've got a lot of additional cost. You have to put a lot of money into engineering. You don't just go and build a run-of-the-mill house on a lot that's sloped, and there's a lot of sloped lots around here. So whenever you're looking online and you see some really low prices, you know, the thing to keep in mind is that property may be extremely sloped. It may not have accessibility readily available to water or electric or what have you. And it's really a price driver when those things are readily available and easily accessible. As well as that the property may have, you know, some driveways cut in already or things like that. So one of the things that we get a lot of requests for is people will contact us and they'll say, hey, we're interested in moving over there, but we want a property with live water, or and you know, maybe it's on a lake or a pond or a creek. Well, in this case, this property had a small pond when we first got here. We're in process of about doubling it. It'll be about 2/3 of an acre by the time it's all done. But something like a pond can be added in a lot of places, not every place. The thing to keep in mind though is when you start adding things like creeks and live water and ponds and all this, that's all value. There's only so many properties that have creeks or on riverfront or on lakes and ponds and have ponds and stuff like that. So every time you add one of those features, the price goes up substantially on being able to pick up those properties. Another request that we get is, oh, we'd just like to buy a piece of land where there's already a well and septic set up, or we can just go in and build. Well, those are far few and in between, and the reason is that most properties that wind up in that category are that way because the previous structure has burned down or been torn down. So there's very few of those. That just doesn't happen that often. Another thing to keep in mind as you're considering doing this type of development is be very attentive to what's going to happen with future infrastructure and what's going on. So for example, about a mile from here, it's been in planning for 20 years probably, but there's going to be a major highway extension that's going in. If you bought a piece of property, and there are many of them for sale up there by where that highway extension is going through, but you could wind up with a freeway ramp in your backyard at some point if you didn't know that was going to be on the come in the future. So I just say that be attentive to researching all that kind of stuff to make sure that you're not going to wind up in those situations. And one of the things that we would encourage you to do is if you got questions about that kind of stuff, or you need help finding the right property, go ahead and give us a call and we'd be happy to help point you in the right directions with getting in touch with different jurisdictions and seeing what's going on with particular properties and helping you assess whether they are a good property to build on or not. Let's talk a little bit about building cost. And you know, we've talked a little bit about land and the varying cost of land. Let's talk specifically about some building cost, and not really to put dollars and cents on the actual, you know, cost of build, which we can do that. We can have a conversation about that. But there's a wide range of factors that contribute into what goes into the cost of building. And, you know, you can do the general contracting yourself, or you can act as your own project manager and potentially save yourself money. So there's a big portion of cost associated with that. The other thing to keep in mind is like the finishes. Obviously, I mean, here's an apparent one, but if you chose to put Formica countertops in your kitchen, that costs substantially less than putting in quartz, right? So just picking finishes can be a huge factor in what you're building and the cost associated with it and where it actually lines out in your final budget. So the question is how involved do you want to be with the process, and how willing are you to go through the steps and have the involvement that's needed to actually take a project through to the end. And you know, another option might be that you might want to just have hire a contractor. If you choose to project manage it yourself, you could hire a contractor that just came by and checked on your project a couple times a week or something like that. And that would be another good approach. So the question is, are you going to source the subs? If you go that route, are you going to source the subs, or is the general contractor going to source the subs? Are you going to pay the subs, or is the contractor going to pay the subs? You can set it up however you want. All this kind of stuff is negotiable, so you can get it figured out so that it works the way that you want it to work, so that it's a good fit for how you want to go about it. Now, one of the things to keep in mind is the material cost. And one of the big areas that I saved on in building my home was that I took the time to price out everything. So I would go, for example, to several different lumber yards, and I found that the price of 2x4s, for example, and I kind of broke it up into a couple categories. One being sheet goods like plywoods, OSBs, and things like that, sheathing, decking for the roof and so on. Those kinds of things, I found that there was a particular lumber yard that had those types of materials, the sheet good materials, at a substantially better rate, and wound up saving thousands and thousands of dollars by having all the sheet goods come from that vendor. And then, you know, the stick goods, 2x4s, 2x6s, 4x4s, so on, the other things you need, the actual lumber that you would need during the building process, it came from yet another place. They had a better price on stick goods, so it really made a difference. And all in all, just in lumber prices, we saved about $15,000 over just going to one place and ordering the whole lumber package. So as you are getting your plan together, your building plan, and maybe you've got an architect, or you could buy a plan online. That's what we did. I'd tell you that there's some headaches involved with that, just by virtue of when you're buying them online, they don't necessarily know where you're at and what codes are where you're at and so on. So it has its own set of headaches, but all that said, you can do it that way, but just be prepared that you might have to work through some things in order to get your project done and to meet all that. But back to the pricing on the materials. So we were able to save about $15,000 on materials just by shopping around and getting pricing using a materials list that we generated at the start of the project, sent it out to 3 different suppliers, had them price out everything on the list, and then we just noticed a trend that there's, sheet goods are a great price over here. Stick lumber is at a great price at this other place. And then we had another place that was, that provided all the siding, roofing and things like that. That was kind of their specialty, and they shined in that area. So it's worth taking a look if you're choosing to go that route where you're going to build yourself, or even if you're going to hire a contractor, you may work it out and you may negotiate it that it would be part of your deal that you would be doing the sourcing and the pricing and paying of the subs, or finding all that stuff yourself. So one of the things that you will notice is we've got a pretty substantial driveway here. It's actually a pretty new driveway. We didn't put it in until recently. It didn't go in with the build, or at the time of the build. The cost of the driveway, we've got 550 feet of driveway to the front of the house, and we've got this parking area here that goes between the shop and the garage of the house. And we paid $18,000 for that. The bids came in, no joke, as high as $45,000. So we got 4 or 5 bids, and the prices were all over the place. And the guy that came out and would do it at the best price actually had multiple big projects that he had done in the area. He was an easy pick, and if this was something that you needed, it's somebody we could point you to, somebody that we've learned to trust and has looked at other projects for us as well. So there's that. Let's talk a little bit, while we're on building projects, let's talk about the shop itself. So this shop is a 30 by 50 shop, and it is made of, I guess a lot of people would call it like a barn type, or a post barn, or whatever you want to call it. But it was interesting. We shopped that around. It was as high as almost 30,000, around 30,000 and change, to have somebody come in and just build it, and that was it. And that's not including the concrete floor. So we found another fella that was able to come in and build the shop for us. It is got 10-foot ceilings inside, 30 by 50, a couple roll-up doors, a man door. It did not come with the roll-up doors, but the cost of just doing the post building finished out with no concrete, the cost of that was about 17,000 and change, almost 18,000. Then we spent about $5 putting a concrete floor in. We had to pay about $1,000 a piece to get those garage doors, so that we had roll-up doors. It came with the man door, and it came framed out for the garage doors. So all said and done, we have about 23,000 in the shop, and I think that's a great value. Pretty pumped and excited to have a shop. It's the first time I've ever had a shop, so it's cool to have that, because I like tinkering with things, and it gives a cool opportunity for that. So question becomes is, do you want to do this? Do you want to mess with this? Is this right for you? It was stressful. It was fun. It was a challenge. It was a lot of different things. It was a big giant puzzle. You know, it's like, how do you get all this put together? Wait, where's the missing piece, right? So, you know, that's just the nature of this kind of thing. I enjoy it, you know, or you may want to have, you know, just find a quality contractor, give us a call, we'll help you find the land. And, you know, that might be the other way you go about it. But if your goal is to construct your dream home, then we're here to help you do that. And we've been helping people in Northwest Arkansas do that for over 10 years. And so if you have a need, we've got resources in Southwest Missouri, Northwest Arkansas, Oklahoma, the tri-state area really, where we can give you a hand with helping get your custom home going. And I tell you that, at least for me, it's never done. There's always something, as you can kind of see over my shoulder here, that we're kind of like making an artsy sidewalk right now. And I've got some fencing material back down there that you'll probably see later in behind the house and so on. So there's always something more to do, but if you need our help, go ahead and give us a ring. We're happy to help you in any way you need. So hey, next let's talk about utilities. Let's talk about water, power, internet. Maybe on the rare occasion you'd actually get a sewer opportunity, depending on what you're building and whether you're in town or not in town, these kinds of things. So let's talk a little bit about water. So interesting thing here, the availability of water does not necessarily mean you're going to get water. So just know that up front. That's one of the reasons that you need to talk with local experts and know the right people to talk to. So my point being with that is, for example, we had a client that was looking for a piece of property. We looked at this specific lot on this specific road, and they had county water there. When we went and talked to the county, they said there was only one water tap available for that road, and it has to do with the number of homes being serviced. Imagine that there's only so much supply that can go into the pipe. That means there can only be so many hookups to the pipe. And so after getting that last water tap, there won't be any more water taps on that road unless they come through and increase the capacity of the pipes. So just because water is available does not mean that you will get water. So that's something that you need to know. The other question is sewer or septic. Of course, in some areas, you're gonna have sewer availability. In other areas, depending on the size of the property, you'll need to put a septic in. Septic's not that expensive, surprisingly inexpensive, frankly. So for this 4-bedroom house, 3,000 square feet, septic was about $7,000 for a complete septic system. So septic system's pretty reasonable. Sewer tap if they've got sewer. Now, one of the things you got to keep in mind is, as we're talking about water and power, those are things that have to go from where they are to where you need them to be. So for example, in behind me here, you kind of see my power meter here. It's 550 feet from the road to this power meter. So it's a certain cost if you go on the poles, if you have them bring it in on poles. It's more of a cost to have them bring it in underground. And those costs get passed on to you. They will pre-plan that for you, so they give you the pricing, so it's not a big deal. You know what the pricing is going to be. But there is an increased cost if you go underground compared to not underground. And then the other thing to keep in mind is same thing with water, not underground or overground, obviously, but depending on how far you have to drag it and how big the pipe diameter is, it will get you all the way down here. In some jurisdictions, they won't let you put water and electric in the same trench, so you'll actually have to dig 2 trenches, increased cost. So there's just things like that that you need to know. Fiber internet is available in a lot of areas around here. There's some areas that have no internet. So that's a question that you need to ask about the property that you're interested in is, hey, has this property got that internet speed that I need in order to be able to conduct business, because I do business from home or whatever? Or hey, I don't want any of that internet stuff at my house because, hey, I want to just relax and chillax and hang out by my creek. Yeah, that might be you too. So do it however you like, but you just need to make sure that whatever you're trying to achieve is achievable at the property that you're interested in. Well water, let's talk about wells. So wells, sometimes we have wells here. They're more rare. We have a property listed right now with a well on 10 acres. But That said, to get a fresh well dug, they do it by the foot. So it costs you a base price for them to come out, and then they dig until they find potable water. And so then you've got whatever the cost per foot is. It can get expensive if you're down here in the valley floor like we are. Water's probably pretty close to the top. Not close to the top, but maybe higher up, easier to get to, as opposed to if you're on that mountain up there, then definitely not as easy to get to. Maybe a lot more hard drilling. The cost associated with it really comes down to how long will it take them to get to it because of the depth, and the cost goes up as they go deeper. So if you can find a property that's got county water at the road, that is a big advantage or big plus. Of course, you're going to pay a little more for that property than you would for the not one. All right, so let's talk about one of the headaches that this property presented. It's a plus and a minus all at the same time. So one of the things that we've got going for us on this property is, you've seen the pond out front. That pond is spring fed. It just looks like, you know, a regular little pond, but it is actually flowing quite well, and it has water flowing into it all the time. We've been here a little over a year. There's never been a time that water wasn't flowing into it. The creek in the back, constantly flowing. But what that presents as a problem for us also is that there's places on the property where, for example, there's a spring right here that just comes out of the ground right near my electrical transformer and runs down to the back of the property and dumps in the creek. So it's minor. It doesn't really affect us or the house at all. It's over here on the side. The one that feeds the pond is on the opposite side of the house. So, you know, it is both a blessing and a burden somewhat. And you just got to know to be attentive to things like that so that it doesn't cause you a specific problem, because I want to put my house right there. And guess what? Spring's flowing under your house. So that's something to be attentive to as well. So let's talk right quick about finding the right contractor. I tell you, we know a number of them, and we could definitely point you in the right direction if that's the route you chose to go. We have great relationships with a number of contractors. We do sell a lot of new construction homes as well, pre-finished spec homes, but we can also point you towards custom builders that will be able to do whatever you need. We've got a couple guys that build full-on mansions. Like I've seen properties that one of these guys has built that's 12,000 square feet. So, you know, we've got a guy that'll build a 1,000 square foot house. We've got a guy that'll build a 12,000 square foot house. So we can definitely help by recommending a few of those. And the thing is, if you decide to go pick your own, that's cool. Just keep in mind that reviews, you know, you might go online, check all the reviews, just like you would if you were hiring a plumber. You know, find the person that's got amazing reviews, that's got an amazing history, so that you don't wind up getting screwed in the end. You know, just like anywhere else you would go, there are contractors that take people's deposit and then don't start for a year, or take people's deposit and go out of business and things like that. There's a lot of concerns in dealing with contractors in that sort. And I just say protect yourself is the bottom line. But just remember, if you need recommendations for that, if you need to find land for you to build on, it doesn't have to be today. Maybe you're not building today. Maybe you don't have the need to build today, but you just want to go ahead and tie up the land. Then, you know, that's an option as well. Just give us a call. We'll help you sort through that, help you find the right property at the right price, and help you make sure that it's got the features that you want on the property, so that when you hire that right contractor, you can indeed get the finished product that you want. So let's talk about surveys and easements. Pretty important stuff. So a lot of times, you know, if somebody's buying a house in a neighborhood, established neighborhood, maybe survey is not such a huge deal. But as you get out on these properties that are bigger, properties that have potential easement issues, we've had clients that when they started the process of looking for a property, We would take a look at a specific property, and by digging into it, we were able to find out pre-purchase that there were some easement problems. So that's just something worth figuring out on the front end. Just because the land's the right price doesn't mean you should go out and buy the land. The ability to build on it and do what you want on the land down the road is pretty important. So just keep that in mind. We're out to help point you in the right direction to get all those kind of questions answered. So get a survey, go ahead and through that survey, they'll check the easements. The title company have them check the easements to make sure accessibility is there. We've had a client that bought a property. We had the survey, we had all the easements in place. Then a neighbor came along after closing, and they already had a house on this property, but the neighbor came along and said, no, the fence is supposed to be 10 feet further over. Well, that's just not the case. So the title company, because they had done all the right things in the process of getting this property, the title company was able to go in and defend them against the neighbor that wanted to move the fence over. So just know that there's all kinds of things that can happen in the land purchase process, and we're just out to help you in any way that we can to save you the headaches and stress that go along with having a property that you ultimately may not be able to build on if you didn't do your homework on the front end. So just a reminder, just because a property is there and the price is right doesn't mean you should buy it. You need to do all your homework first. And we'll say hello to Rowdy Man. So let's talk a little bit about financing. So, there's several ways you can buy land. The obvious one is you can buy cash. That's one option. If you go the financing route, depending on the bank, a lot of lenders out there will not do what they call construction to perm, which means that you start the process by buying the land and you carry it all the way through. A lot of lenders don't do that. So you'll need to find one that specifically does that with new construction. If you're going to go financing, depending on the bank, they'll require 10 to say 30% down, depending on the bank and the property and the credit score, of course, and so on. Another way you hear people ask about all the time is we hear people ask about, what about owner financing? Well, good luck if you can find that. Not that it never shows up, but it's far few and in between, if you will. That kind of thing happens, and they're usually getting a premium if they're doing owner financing because they're carrying the load, so they're going to make as much money as possible. So another recommendation is if you have the cash and you're going to be building a house, if you have the cash to buy the land, maybe think about putting down like 30% and holding on to the rest as part of your contingency for your home building process. There's things that come up in the home building process that you didn't think about. And that's just the bottom line of doing construction. And I know a whole bunch of contractors and they deal with it every day and they're in the business full time. So it's just something worth considering when taking on financing and how you want to approach buying land / building or whatever you're going to be doing in the short term. So just take those things into account. Well, it's been a pleasure to chat with you today and talk with you about the home building process. And maybe if you did want to do it in Northwest Arkansas, Southern Missouri, Oklahoma, Eastern Oklahoma, then by all means pick up the phone, give us a call. We'd be happy to help you any way we could, give you the best advice we can. Give us a click, give us a like, give us a follow, all that stuff. And we look forward to keeping serving you.